Greetings, friends. Uh, if you keep a cow, what are all the environmental impact and possibilities of damage to environment? Environmental effect of meat production and milk production. Gut flora in cattle include methogens that produce methane as a byproduct of enteric fermentation, which cattle belch out. The same volume of atmospheric methane has a 72x higher over 20 years. Global warming potential than atmospheric carbon dioxide. Methane bleaching from cattle can be reduced with genetic selection, immunization against the many pathogens, rumen, defunction, killing the bacteria, killing protozoa, diet modification, example seaweed fortification, decreased antibiotic use, and grazing management, among others. So, environmental effects are there if you breed a cow in your cattle farm, cow farm. So, these are all the effects and possibility of solving them. A 2013 report from the Food and Agriculture Organization based on 2005 data states that the livestock sector is responsible for 14.5% of greenhouse gases emissions, 65% of which is due to cattle. My God, 65% of greenhouse gases of health hazard to environment is due to cattle. So see how big cattle industry is doing harm to our society, world, our earth, mother earth. So please follow the rules and regulations according to the government's policies for keeping a cattle at your home, cow at home. Please. So the IPCC estimates that cattle and other livestock emit about 80 to 93 megatons of methane per year. Megatons, 80 to 93 megatons of methane per year, accounting for an estimated 37% of anthropogenic methane emissions. And additional methane is produced by anaerobic fermentation of manure in manure lagoons and other manure storage structures. Another estimate is 12% of global GHG, while cattle fed forage actually produce more methane than grain fed cattle. The increase may be offset by the increased carbon recapture of pastures, which recapture 3 times the CO2 of cropland used for grains. One of the cited changes suggest to reduce greenhouse gas emission is intensification of the livestock industry. Since intensification leads to less land for a given level of production, this assertion is supported by studies of the US beef production system, suggesting practice prevailing in 2007 involved 8.6% less fossil fuel use, 16.3% less greenhouse gas emission, 12.1% less water use, and 33% less land use per unit mass of beef produced than those used in 1977. The analysis took into account not only practice in feedlots but also feed production, with less feed needed in more intensive production system. Forage based cow calf operation and backgrounding before cattle enter a feedlot with more beef produced per head of cattle from those sources in more intensive system, and beef from animals derived from dairy industry, a more controversial suggestion advocated by George Monbiot in the documentary Apocalypse Cow is to stop farming cattle completely. However, farmers often have political power, so might be able to resist such a big change. Significantly, numbers of dairy as well as beef cattle are confined in concentrated animal feeding operations. CAFOs defined as new and existing operation which stable or confine and feed or maintain or a total of 45 days or more in any 12 months period more than the number of animals specified, where crops vegetation forage growth or post-harvest residues are not sustained in the normal growing season over any portion of the lot or facility. They may be designated as small, medium, and large. Such designation of cattle CAFOs is according to cattle type, mature dairy cows, wheel calves, and others, and cattle numbers. But medium CAFOs are so designated only in they meet certain discharge criteria, and concentrated animal feeding operation are designated only on a case by case basis. A concentrated animal feeding operation that discharges pollutants is required to obtain a permit, which requires to plan, manage nutrient runoff, manure, chemical contaminants, and other wastewater pursuant to the US Clean Water Act. The regulations involving CAFO permitting have been extensively litigated. Commonly CAFO wastewater and manure nutrients are applied to land at economic rates for use of forage or crops, and it is often assumed that various constituents wastewater and manure, example organic contaminants and pathogens, will be retained, inactivated, or degraded on the land. With application at such rates, however, additional evidence is needed to test reliability of such assumptions. Concerns raised by opponents of CAFO have included risk of contaminated water due to feedlot runoff, soil erosion, human and animal exposure to toxic chemicals, development of antibiotic resistant bacteria, and an increase in E. coli contamination. While researchers suggest some of this impact can be mitigated by developing wastewater treatment system and planting cover crops in large setback zones, the Union of Concerned Scientists released a report in 2008 concluding that CAFOs are generally unsustainable and externalize cost. Another concern is manure, which is not well managed, can lead to adverse environmental consequences. However, manure is also a valuable source of nutrient and organic matter when used as a fertilizer. Manure was used as a fertilizer on about 64 lakh hectares, 15.8 million acres of US cropland in 2006, with manure from cattle accounting for nearly 70% of manure application to soybean and about 80% of manure application to corn, wheat, barley, oats, and sorghum. Substitution of manure for synthetic fertilizers in crop production can be environmental significant, as between 43 and 83 megajoules of fossil fuel energy would be used per kg nitrogen in manufacture of synthetic nitrogenous fertilizers. Grazing by cattle at low intensity can create a favorable environment for native herbs and forbs by mimicking the native grazers who they displaced. In many world regions, though, cattle are reducing biodiversity due to overgrazing. A survey of refuge managers on 123 national wildlife refuge in US stated 86 species of wildlife considered positively affected and 82 considered negatively affected by refuge cattle grazing or haying. Proper management of pasture, notably managed intensive rotational grazing and grazing at low intensity, can lead to less use of fossil fuel energy, increased recapture of carbon dioxide, fewer ammonia emission into the atmosphere, reduced soil erosion, better air quality, and less water pollution. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.